In the beginning, people said I can't be a tattoo artist solely because I'm a woman. Now that I am a tattoo artist, they say I'm getting recognized solely because I'm a woman. But I feel we should do what we do for ourselves and not to prove anything to others, as there will always be criticism.
Yangdol Namgyal is a tattoo artist from Sikkim, India. While her initial studies in graphic design took place in Bengaluru, the capital of Karnataka, she eventually found her way to Sikkim, whereupon she opened her own tattoo studio. Yangdol spoke to us about how she was drawn to art, even from a young age, and how that interest found an avenue of expression, more specifically in tattoo art.
Ever since I was a child, I knew I was going to be an artist and was always drawn towards it. I was introduced to tattooing by my teacher, Mr. Gyaltsen Lama, at a very young age.
When asked what Tibetan contemporary art means to her, she made a point of explaining how she views her work through the context of traditional versus contemporary components. She also talked about the influence and importance of her Tibetan identity and heritage, as it's expressed in her work.
My art is now fully contemporary because I depict traditional Tibetan art in my tattooing. However, it is not fully traditional as well, as tattooing is a contemporary medium. I can also say it is contemporary in its nature because I work with identity, which is one of the elements of contemporary art. My intent in adopting Tibetan style in tattooing is to generate intrigue in the minds of the new generation and introduce them to the Tibetan world of signs, symbols, and storytelling, which constitute the core values of a person belonging to the Tibetan heritage. And I also believe it has a lot to offer to a person not belonging to the Tibetan heritage as well, in the form of various Buddhist knowledge systems. I believe this is my contribution to the preservation of our culture. In spite of the cultural genocide and destruction of Tibetan art in the past by the Communist Chinese government, Tibetan art will always continue to thrive and will live on through us in different mediums and approaches, and in my case, in our skin and in our ink.
Even just at a first glance, we see that her works are not limited to just one style. Rather, they are a hybrid of techniques harmoniously blended together. We can see many symbols and signs that speak of Tibetan influence, but we can just as well see techniques that appear to be influenced by other art styles. Her work is made all the more unique by how she manages to incorporate many approaches from a myriad of cultures.
Koi with Dorma and the Lopta. Whether or not my tattoos are completely Tibetan style or not also depends on the client because tattooing is a collaborative process that requires teamwork. If the client insists on Japanese, American, or any other style, then I fuse it with Tibetan style so that they have a piece of me in that artwork. I like to fuse different cultures with Tibetan because I am the type of person that likes to study different cultures and identify similarities amongst them. This inclusive approach gives me more perspective and empathy while not forgetting my Tibetan roots. Here, I'm introducing the viewers to Lopta, that is the Tibetan horoscope through tattooing. The main characters are Japanese, while the lotus and clouds are done in Tibetan style. The koya is completely Japanese, while the torma, that is ritual offering in its mouth, is Tibetan. I'll talk about the Sernia and the Tibetan lotus and skull together. So Tibetan art is governed by various rules, and although I'm already in a box by adopting this style, I can see that I can be creative within this box because tattooing gives me the freedom to do that. So I can mix American and Japanese influences with Tibetan. However, there are pieces as these where I decide to remain quintessentially Tibetan. That being said, I'm also learning Thangka painting from Sikkimese Haripa, and I do not intend to do this in my Thangka art because then the essence of Thangka painting would be lost.
Youngdo shared with us her experience on what it's like to be a woman in the tattoo industry.
Being a woman tattoo artist can be a hindrance to us in many ways, but we can overcome them. In the beginning, people said I can't be a tattoo artist solely because I'm a woman. Now that I am a tattoo artist, they say I'm getting recognized solely because I am a woman. But I feel we should do what we do for ourselves and not to prove anything to others, as there will always be criticism. I also practice the Buddhist way of seeing the good and the bad with equanimity. If I feel it's going to be because of myself and not because a section of the society stopped me from succeeding.
When we first look at the works of Yangdol Namgyal, our minds may instinctively jump to thoughts about how the Tibetan community perceives this medium. For many Tibetans, having a tattoo on our bodies can be labeled as taboo. So we ask Yangdol how she approaches this social stigma. She acknowledges that there are indeed stigmas attached to tattooing, especially in Tibetan Buddhism. But after having asked her family's head lama, she was intrigued by his answer. Although tattoos are viewed negatively due to the Buddhist teaching that we must give up on decorating our bodies and overcome worldly desires, tattoos are not explicitly mentioned.
He said if we were to completely follow the scriptures, then we would have to give up using makeup on our faces as well, which is not possible for lay people. As for me and many other Western tattooists who do Tibetan style of tattoos, it is just a new medium for us to spread the Dharma to the world. Also, I think Buddhism is subject to adaptation to the new world. Like Padmasambhava adapted Buddha's teaching with Bon religion that was already present in Tibet. And as the Buddha famously said, the finger that points to the moon is not the moon.
And to her surprise,
He said that even he wanted to get the Tashitage tattooed on him.
Yangdol also let us in on how she overcomes artist block, sharing tips for other artists.
I think it is very important for us to know that it might not always be an external thing. It could also be that something is wrong with our inner self. So I suggest that we look deeply into our own minds and find out what is not right within ourselves. Meditating and writing down my contemplations is what helps me overcome my artist block.
Lastly, she shared her thoughts on platforms such as the Yakpo Collective and the use of social media to integrate different communities through means of art.
Platforms such as Yakpo Collective represents the sensible use of social media which helps and connects like-minded people throughout the world, irrespective of geographical distance. I think it's very helpful and motivating to young artists like me who are given a spotlight and our voice can reach a wider audience.